The cry and the wreckage, the sky was filled with smoke and the ground was broken like a cracked mirror. Old weapons, shattered metal, and burning ships were spread across the battlefield in every direction. Jace moved slowly through the ruins, his boots crunching over ash and broken glass. He was not a soldier anymore. Those days were gone. Now he was just a scavenger, looking for spare parts to sell for food. The war between alien empires had destroyed this part of space, and no one cared what happened here anymore. But today felt different. As Jace climbed over the twisted wing of a downed fighter ship, he heard something. It wasn't the wind or the crackle of fire. It was a voice, soft, shaky, and full of fear. "Help, please." He stopped. His heart beat faster. No one was supposed to be alive out here. He looked around carefully. The sound came from a pile of wreckage nearby. He crouched low and moved closer, pulling out his small flashlight. The light cut through the smoke, shining on a half-buried escape pod. One side was bent inward as if it had crashed hard. The door was slightly open. Jace gripped the edge and pulled. Inside, curled up and trembling, was a small alien girl. Her skin was light blue, her long silver hair tangled and dusty. She looked up at him with large, glowing eyes filled with tears. "Don't hurt me," she whispered. Jace stepped back slowly and raised his hands. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said gently. "Are you hurt?" She nodded. "My arm, it hurts. I can't move it." He stepped closer and checked her. Her arm was swollen and bruised, but not broken. She had scratches all over her face and legs, and her small body was shaking from cold and fear. "What's your name?" he asked. "Sorrel," she said softly. "I was on my mother's ship. They shot us down." "Your mother?" Jace asked. "Where is she?" Sorrel's lips trembled. "They took her. She's the queen. Please, save her. They'll kill her." Jace blinked. He looked at the girl again. Queen? That meant she was royal. If what she said was true, then the Galactic Empire would be searching for her. They might already be nearby. He stood up quickly and scanned the horizon. Something flickered in the distance. A small patrol drone hovering above the battlefield, scanning the wreckage. It would find them soon. "We have to move," he said. "Can you walk?" Sorrel nodded and tried to stand, but her legs gave out. Jace caught her before she fell. "All right," he said. "I'll carry you." He picked her up carefully and started, walking fast, weaving through the debris. Each step was heavy. He knew the Empire didn't forgive traitors, especially humans who interfered in their war. If they caught him with the Queen's daughter, he was as good as dead. But he didn't. "Stop." Behind him, the drone buzzed louder. Jace ducked behind a burnt-out hovercraft and held his breath. Sorrel clung to him tightly, burying her face in his chest. The drone passed overhead and moved on. He kept moving. Finally, after what felt like forever, he reached his hidden shuttle. It was old and rusty, hidden under camo netting and parts of broken ships. He placed Sorrel gently in the passenger seat and ran to the controls. "Hold on," he said, hitting buttons and flipping switches. The engine coughed, sputtered, then came to life. As they lifted off the ground, Jace looked down one last time, at the battlefield. Flames still burned and smoke covered the sky. The place was dead. But in his arms, life had survived. And not just any life. The life of a little girl who carried the fate of a galaxy. The escape through fire, the shuttle rattled as it climbed through the smoky atmosphere. Jace kept one hand on the control stick and the other gripping the throttle. Fire and debris passed by the window as if the planet itself was trying to pull them back down. Each time the ship shook, he checked the readings, afraid something critical might fail. Behind him, little Sorrel sat strapped into the seat. Her silver hair was messy and her eyes were wide, but she didn't cry. She just stared at the broken planet below as it shrank in the window. "We're not safe yet," Jace said. "They'll come for you. For us." "I know," she whispered. "They always come." Jace didn't ask what she meant. Something about the way she said it chilled him. Not with fear, but with something heavier, like sadness, too deep for someone her age to carry. Suddenly, a high-pitched beep echoed through the cockpit. "Scanner lock," Jace muttered. "Someone's tracking us." A small dot appeared on the screen, fast, sharp, heading straight toward them. "Fighter drone," he said. "One of theirs." The shuttle wasn't built for combat. It had no shields, no weapons, just speed, and not much of that. Jace pushed the thrusters to maximum, the engines howling as they jumped into low orbit. A streak of red light passed by the window. Too close. "They're trying to force us down," Jace growled. "We need cover." He twisted the ship hard to the left, diving toward a nearby asteroid belt that wrapped around the moon like a ring of broken bones. It wasn't safe, but it was better than dying in open space. The drone followed. "They're still behind us," Surreal said. Her voice was calm, too calm. "Yeah, I noticed." As they entered the field of rocks and dust, the ship jolted. Jace dodged one giant spinning stone, then another. Behind them, the drone moved smoothly, weaving, like a hunter with perfect eyes. Come on," Jace whispered. "Just one lucky shot." He pulled the shuttle through a narrow gap between two sharp rocks. The drone followed, but too close. Its wing clipped the edge of a spinning asteroid, sending it into a spiral. It crashed against a larger rock and exploded in a silent fireball. Jace let out a breath. "We're clear. For now." But he knew more would come. He had no idea how much time they had before every outpost in this quadrant got his name. He turned toward Surreal. "Are you all right?" She nodded. "You saved me again." "Don't thank me yet," he said. "We're not out of this mess." They reached a nearby trading moon called Orion's Spine, a place forgotten by law but remembered by criminals. Smugglers, pirates, and ex-soldiers all came here to disappear. Jace landed in a hidden bay and covered the ship with scrap metal. Then, he and Surreal moved through the dirty, crowded market tunnels. Smells of oil, old food, and fear filled the air. "Keep your head down," he told her. "Don't talk. Don't look anyone in the eyes." "Okay," she said, walking close beside him. He took her to a small metal door hidden behind a pile of broken engines. He knocked 3 times, paused, then knocked twice more. The door slid open. A tall woman with gray eyes and short black hair stared out. Her clothes were patched with wires and tools. Her name was Kayla, an old friend from the war. "You look like death," she said. "Feels about right," Jace answered. Her eyes moved to Surreal. "Who's the kid?" "Royalty." Kayla's face froze. "What did you do?" "Saved her." "Jace, do you know what kind of hell you've just invited?" He nodded. "I know, but I couldn't leave her." Kayla opened the door wider. "Get in, quickly." Inside, Kayla's workshop buzzed with machines. Screens showed news broadcasts, including one with Jace's face on it, marked with red letters. "Wanted, human fugitive, accused of kidnapping royal child. Reward, 10 million credits." Kayla looked at Jace. "You're famous now." Sorrel stepped forward. "They're lying. He didn't take me. He saved me." Kayla looked at her differently then. "You're really her." "Yes. Your mother. Is she alive?" Sorrel's eyes filled with tears. "I think so. But they took her. They want her to surrender to stop the peace treaty." Kayla cursed under her breath. "This changes everything." Jace raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "Your girl isn't just royal, Jace. She's the last speaker. It's an old alien prophecy. The one born under twin moons can unlock the ancient core, the energy that kept the galaxy from war 1,000 years ago." Jace frowned. "You believe in that?" "I didn't. But look at the timing. The war, the collapse, the prophecy, and now she's here." Sorrel stepped forward. "I don't want power, I just want to save my mother." Jace looked at her and felt something twist inside. This wasn't just about survival anymore. The galaxy might depend on this small, quiet child. "What do we do now?" he asked. Kayla tapped a few buttons and opened a secret drawer. Inside was a black chip. "This holds an ancient code. Your only chance to find the Queen and maybe end this war. How do we use it? You'll need to break into the Imperial Archive on Luther Prime. Jace stared at her. That's suicide. Probably, Kayla said, but it's the only way. He looked at Surreal. Are you ready for this? She nodded without fear. I trust you. And just like that, the scavenger who never wanted to be a hero became the center of a mission that could shake every star in the galaxy. Hunted by the Empire, the neon lights of Orion's spine flickered as Jace guided Surreal through the shadowed alleys of the lower district. The news of their escape had spread faster than Jace expected. Every bounty hunter, mercenary, and street thug in the city seemed to have one eye on their screens and one hand on a weapon. His face was everywhere, on glowing signs, floating data holograms, and whispered warnings. 10 million credits for the human and the girl. Wanted dead, not alive. Jace tightened the hood over Surreal's head. She stayed silent, her small hand gripping his sleeve tightly. She was learning fast, how to walk without drawing attention, how to lower her gaze, how to vanish in a crowd. But they couldn't hide forever. They reached a broken tunnel that led to a rusted underground platform. Jace had used it once during a smuggling run years ago. No one used it now. It was abandoned, flooded, and half forgotten. We'll stay down here for a while, he whispered. It's not safe topside. How long? Surreal asked. Jace didn't answer. He didn't know. Deep underground, in the flickering glow of a campfire made from old heating rods, Jace tried to rest, but his thoughts kept spinning. What was he doing? He was just a scavenger, not a soldier, not a hero. He didn't belong in royal wars or ancient prophecies. And yet, every time he looked at Surreal, he remembered the wreckage, the fear in her voice, the way she trusted him with her life. She was just a child, but she carried the weight of an entire galaxy on her small shoulders. Suddenly, Surreal stirred. Her eyes opened wide, glowing faintly in the dark. They're close, she whispered. I can feel them. Jace frowned. Who? The hunters. Then, he heard it. Boots echoing in the tunnel. Not many, just 3 or 4, but the footsteps were steady, heavy, trained. Move, Jace said quickly, grabbing his pack and lifting Surreal into his arms. They ran through the old sewer tunnels. Water, splashing around their feet. Jace turned corners fast, trying to remember the map in his mind. Behind them, voices called out, sharp, alien voices. He has the girl. Don't shoot her. Take the human. They reached an old maintenance shaft. Jace hit the panel with his fist, praying it still worked. After a delay, the hatch opened with a grinding sound and they climbed up into a hidden passage above the city. They reached the upper rim of Orion's spine just as the second moon rose in the sky. It bathed the steel towers in cold silver light. Kyla was already there, waiting near an old freighter ship with its engines humming low. She waved them over fast. Get inside now, she said. They know you're here. Jace and Surreal jumped, and the doors closed behind them as the ship lifted off. Where are we going? Jace asked. Luther Prime, Kayla said. The Imperial Archive Tower. We hit it tonight. Tonight? Jace asked, shocked. Are you crazy? No time left, Kayla said. Empire fleets are moving. If we wait, they'll reach the Queen's prison and you'll lose your chance. Surreal stepped forward. We have to do this. Jace looked at her again. Even now, with the stars racing past, she looked calm, determined. She wasn't just surviving, she was choosing to fight. He nodded slowly. All right, what's the plan? Luther Prime was a planet of fire and glass. Tall towers cut the sky like knives, and the Empire's eye never blinked. The Imperial Archive Tower was in the center, a spire made of black steel, guarded by mechs, drones, and soldiers trained since birth. No one broke in. No one. And yet, here they were. Jace, Surreal, and Kayla, hiding in the sewers beneath the tower, preparing to do the impossible. Kayla handed Jace a small device. This will get you into the first 2 gates. After that, you're on your own. I hate those words, Jace muttered. Surreal looked up at him. You won't be alone. Jace smiled softly. I know. They climbed the maintenance ladder that led to the tower's lower levels. Security bots hovered near the ceiling. Jace tossed an EMP chip, and the lights blinked off for 2 seconds. They slipped through the dark and into the heart of the Empire. The archive room was massive, a cold chamber filled with glowing data pillars and humming servers. Alien symbols floated in the air. Jace found the main terminal and inserted the black chip Kayla had given him. Surreal placed her hand on the scanner. Her eyes flashed bright blue. The system recognized her. Royal access granted. Core coordinates retrieved. A map appeared, floating, in the air, an ancient world lost in time, marked only as core of the first piece. We found it, Jace whispered. We can save her. But then, alarms screamed. Soldiers poured into the room. Red armor, heavy rifles locked and ready. Jace stood in front of Surreal holding his pistol. Don't move. One soldier shouted. Another raised his weapon. Kill the human. Then something happened. The lights flickered. Energy rippled in the air. Surreal stepped forward. Her voice echoed, strange and ancient. You will not harm him. The soldiers froze. Jace turned, stunned. Surreal's eyes were glowing bright white now, and strange symbols moved across her skin, like floating fire. What are you doing? He whispered. They cannot see it, she said calmly. But the core already knows you. Then the lights exploded, and the room went dark. When Jace opened his eyes, he and Surreal were back in the tunnel. The map chip was in his hand. Kayla was beside them, breathing hard. What the hell happened in there, she asked. Jace looked at Surreal. She just smiled faintly. I showed them truth. What truth? That peace is still possible, but only if we reach the core. They had what they needed, but now, the Empire knew everything, and the real war was just beginning, into the Queen's cage. Darkness surrounded the ship as it floated silently through the debris field near the prison planet Carnaxus. Glowing ruins of broken ships drifted around them like ghost bones, leftovers from ancient battles long forgotten. It was the perfect hiding place, and the perfect launch point for a rescue no one believed could succeed. Jace stood at the window, staring at the planet below. Thick storm clouds moved across its black surface, flashing lightning like angry eyes. Deep underground in the Empire's most secret prison, the alien queen, the mother of Surreal, was being held. He turned toward Kayla. How many guards? Unknown, she replied. They change the rotations every 2 hours. Even their own soldiers don't know the full layout. And defenses? Deadly. He sighed and rubbed his face. Perfect. Surreal sat at the console, looking at the map chip they had stolen from the archive. Lines of old alien code glowed in front of her. Her expression was focused, calm, but her fingers trembled slightly. She hadn't seen her mother in weeks. Every moment they delayed, her fear grew. She's still alive, Surreal said quietly. I can feel her. Jace nodded. We'll get her back. The infiltration began at midnight. Jace wore black armor with a cracked Empire insignia. Kayla had fixed up an old prisoner transport, just convincing enough to fool the outer patrols. Surreal hid inside a false wall behind the cockpit. She couldn't be scanned. Her unique royal energy signature would trigger every alarm on the planet. The ship dropped through the clouds like a stone. Turbulence rocked the cockpit. Rain and ash pelted the windows. We're in, Kayla said over comms. Landing pad 6. They haven't noticed anything. Yet. The platform was cold steel, surrounded by towers that hummed with energy. Black-armored soldiers stood at each corner, holding plasma rifles. A tall officer approached the ship as it landed. Identification, he barked. Jace stepped out with forged documents and a hard stare. Transfer from Outpost 17, he said. Classified Level 3 prisoner inside. The officer checked the data pad. His eyes narrowed. Jace felt the sweat on his neck. Then the officer grunted. Cleared. Proceed to Gate 7. They were in. Inside the prison, the air was heavy. Jace walked calmly past cameras and turrets, his fake armor hiding his heartbeat. Every second felt like a blade hanging over them. He reached the internal security doors. Kayla's voice came through the comm. Left corridor, second door. Biometric lock. You'll need Surreal. Jace tapped, twice on his arm. In the hidden wall behind the cockpit, Surreal climbed out and ran silently to his side. They moved quickly through the hallway, each step echoing in the silence. They reached the door. Jace placed her hand on the scanner. Lights blinked red, then green. The door hissed open. Inside was a small, cold chamber. No windows, no light, except for a dim beam above a metal chair. And in that chair sat the Queen. Her skin was pale and bruised. Her silver crown was broken. Her hands were bound in energy cuffs and her once glowing eyes were dull. Mother, Surreal ran to her. The Queen looked up slowly. At first, her expression was confused, then recognition. Her voice broke. Surreal, my child. Jace stepped forward and shot the cuffs. Sparks flew. The Queen fell into his arms, weak but alive. Who are you? She asked him. A human, Jace replied. The one who saved your daughter. The Queen looked into his eyes and something inside her shifted. Not fear, not hate, something else, something quiet and deep. Then I owe you everything, she said. Alarms exploded. Outside the door, red lights flashed and sirens wailed. They found us, Kayla said over the comm. I'm pulling the ship around. 3 minutes. Make it 2, Jace replied, grabbing the Queen and helping her walk. Surreal ran beside them, holding her mother's hand, the hallways filled with shouting soldiers and drones. Jace fired at the ceiling. Pipes burst. Steam filled the corridor. They ran through the smoke, down a hidden maintenance shaft Kayla had marked, but the soldiers were faster. Ahead, a squad blocked the escape route. Stop, the commander ordered. Hand over the girl. Jace raised his pistol, but he was outnumbered 10-1. Then the Queen stepped forward. Her voice rose, shaking the air. You will not touch her. The energy in the hallway shifted. Lights exploded. Weapons melted in the soldiers' hands. The Queen's body lit up with pure power, glowing lines spreading across her arms and face. Jace stared in awe. She wasn't just royalty. She was something ancient, something unstoppable. The soldiers dropped to their knees. What's happening? Jace whispered. She's awakening, Surreal said. Just like me. They reached the platform just as Kayla's ship roared overhead. Turrets fired. Jace shot a flare. The ship dove down fast. Side door open. Kayla shouted, "Get in!" They jumped aboard. Bullets tore through the air. One struck Jace's shoulder. He gritted his teeth and pulled the Queen up with him. Go, he yelled. Kayla hit the thrusters. The ship blasted into the storm clouds, chased by enemy drones. Lightning flashed around them. Anti-air missiles followed. We're not gonna make it, Kayla shouted. Surreal stepped forward again. Her eyes glowed white. She pressed her hand to the wall. The ship blinked, literally disappeared from the sky. A second later, they reappeared in orbit, far above the prison planet. Jace dropped to the floor, breathing hard. The Queen collapsed beside him, smiling faintly. You saved me, she whispered. Jace looked at her, bleeding and exhausted. No, ma'am, your daughter did. Inside the ship, the Queen sat quietly beside Surreal, brushing her hair. Kayla treated Jace's wound, wrapping his shoulder in old bandages. What now? Kayla asked. Jace held up the chip with the coordinates to the ancient core. We go there. That's where this ends. The Queen looked at him carefully. Do you know what you're walking into? No, Jace said honestly. But I know we're not turning back. The Queen nodded. Then may the stars guide us all. And as the ship flew into hyperspace, heading toward a world no one had seen for thousands of years, the war behind them faded. But ahead, something greater waited. Something that would decide the fate of the entire galaxy. The ancient weapon's truth. The stars outside the window shifted like streams of light as the ship flew through hyperspace. Inside, silence filled the cabin. No one spoke. They all knew what lay ahead wasn't just another battle or mission. This was different. This was the core. Surreal stood by herself in the observation bay, watching the stars blur. The chip Jace had stolen from the Imperial Archive now floated above her palm, glowing with ancient symbols. It responded to her energy, like it recognized her blood. "We're close," she whispered. Jace walked in behind her. His shoulder was still bandaged from the last escape, but his eyes were sharp. "You all right?" he asked. Surreal nodded slowly. "I think the planet is calling me." Jace stepped beside her. "What do you think we'll find down there?" "Something old, something powerful, maybe something dangerous." He smiled a little. "That's not very comforting." Surreal finally turned toward him. "You could still turn back." "Not a chance," he replied. "You're not going down there alone." An hour later, the ship dropped out of hyperspace. The view took their breath away. In front of them floated a planet of silver and gold. Its clouds shimmered like light trapped in water. Giant rings of crystal surrounded it, pulsing with a soft glow. "That's no normal world," Kayla said from the cockpit. "My scanners are going crazy." "That's not a world," the Queen said behind her. "That's Elisar, the heart of the ancients, once ruled by the Starforged, the first empire of peace before all others." "You've been here before?" Jace asked. The Queen shook her head. "No one has. Not for 10,000 years. The entrance only opens for one of royal blood and a guardian born from war." Jace frowned. "Guardian?" The Queen looked at him. "That's you." They landed in a golden field of light. The air shimmered. Time felt slow, like each second stretched longer than the last. Birds made of energy flew through the sky, and giant crystal trees hummed, softly with music no one could understand. Surreal stepped off the ship first. The ground pulsed beneath her feet. The wind whispered her name. Jace followed her, the Queen close behind. As they walked, a path formed beneath them, glowing with every step. After half an hour, they reached a towering gate carved into the side of a mountain made of starlight. Alien writing swirled across the surface. Surreal placed her hand on the gate. It opened. Inside was a vast chamber with a floating platform at the center. Light poured from the ceiling, focused on a single object. A glowing sphere suspended in the air. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Lines of power shot out from it into the walls, the floor, the planet itself. This was the ancient core, and at its base, a weapon. A machine unlike anything Jace had ever seen. Half organic, half metal, breathing with energy. It was shaped like a massive flower of blades and mirrors ready to unfold. "What is that?" Jace asked. The Queen stepped forward, her voice soft. "It's the peace engine, built by the ancients to stop all wars. But it comes at a cost." "What cost?" "Choice," she said. "Once activated, it forces peace. It seizes all weapons, all ships, all tech, and locks it forever. No war, no power, no rebellion, but also no freedom." Sorrel looked up. "We can't use it." "Not unless we have no other choice," the Queen replied. Kayla, scanning the room, suddenly shouted, "Movement!" From the shadows above, a dark figure dropped to the floor. Tall, armored, deadly, an Empire general. "You led us here," he growled. "Thank you." Behind him, Imperial ships began landing on the planet's edge. Hundreds of soldiers marched out. They had been followed. Jace pulled Surreal behind him. "How did you find us?" The general smiled. "You activated the core. We tracked the signal. The galaxy is watching, and you've just handed us its heart." The Queen stepped forward. "You can't control it. Only she can." "Then we'll take her," he said coldly. He reached for his weapon, but the Queen moved faster. Her hand raised. Energy surged. The general flew backwards, crashing into the wall. "Run!" Jace yelled. They ran deeper into the chamber, through tunnels of light. Behind them, blasters roared and walls shook. They reached a second chamber, darker, older. At its center stood a mirror made of black stone. But this wasn't just a reflection. Inside the mirror, Jace saw another version of himself. Broken, alone, lost in a galaxy where he failed to protect Surreal. He backed away. What is this place? It shows what could be, the Queen said. Your fears, your future. So what do we do? You must choose, the Queen replied. You must face your truth. Surreal stepped toward the mirror. It shimmered, and then she vanished. Sorel, Jace shouted. The Queen pulled him back. She has to face it alone. Inside the mirror world, Surreal walked through a silent battlefield. Everywhere she turned, she saw war, humans and aliens both. Fighting, burning, crying. Dead stars in the sky, ruined planets. In the center, she saw her mother on her knees, surrendering to the Empire. And Jace, lying still, unmoving. This is what happens, a voice said beside her. If you fail. She turned and saw herself, older, colder, eyes like ice. But I don't want this, she said. Then you must make the hardest choice. The mirror self said, use the engine, end it all. Sorel shook her head. There must be another way. Then find it. Outside, Jace and the Queen held off soldiers. Jace fired, dodged, bled. Suddenly, light exploded from the chamber. Sorel walked out. She glowed. The soldiers stopped. The general stepped back. You can't win, he shouted. Sorel raised her hand. No, but I can end this without your war. She touched the core. It pulsed. Every weapon on the planet powered down. Ships froze in the air. Energy fields collapsed, and then a message spread across the galaxy, beamed to every screen, every world, every species. There is another way. This galaxy belongs to all of us. No empire, no rule, only peace by choice. Hours later, as the sun rose over Elisar, Jace sat on the edge of a crystal cliff, watching birds fly across the glowing sky. Surreal sat beside him. You did it, he said. We did, she replied. Behind them, the Queen prepared a new council, of humans and aliens alike, a future not ruled by power, but by unity. Jace smiled. What now? Sorel looked up. Now we build something better. The battle over Astraxis, the silence after the activation of the core didn't last. Across the galaxy, reactions were mixed. Some cheered the message of peace. Others panicked. Weapons were shut down. Fleets lost power. Generals screamed into dead comms, but one system, Astraxis, refused to accept it. The warlords of Astraxis were old, powerful. They ruled with blood and control. And when their weapons went dark, they didn't surrender. They declared war. Jace stood aboard the command deck of the Elisar Dawn, a new diplomatic ship sent by the Queen's Council to respond to Astraxis' threat. Beside him stood Kayla, now dressed in high-ranking tactical robes. Surreal was at the center of the room, her hands on the control sphere connected to the core through a safe relay. She had grown stronger since unlocking the ancient engine. She could feel the pulse of the galaxy, the pain, the fear, the resistance. They're preparing for war, she said quietly. They're building weapons that the core can't reach. Old weapons, analog, manual, mechanical. Kyla leaned on the table. That means the peace engine can't disable them. They're outside its range. Jace nodded. They've found a loophole. Then we need to close it, said the Queen, appearing via hologram from the new Alliance chamber. She looked directly at Jace. We need a new mission. One last battle. Astraxis was a world of red sand and black sky. Its oceans boiled, and its cities rose from fire pits and smoke. It was once a peaceful research colony. Now it was a fortress world, controlled by the last remaining war master of the Empire, Velcor of Iron Flame. He was part machine, part organic, a survivor of a dozen extermination campaigns. To him, peace was a weakness. and humans were a stain. Jace, Surreal, Kayla, and a small strike team dropped toward Astraxis in stealth pods. No shields, no weapons, only speed and darkness. They landed far from the capital, a ruined zone of burned villages and mines. Jace stepped out and looked up at the smoke-covered sky. "This is the last place on the map that still wants war," he said. "Then we'll show them what peace looks like," Kayla replied, locking her gauntlet. They made their way to an old comm station buried in the hills. It had survived the weapon shutdown, one of the last places the Corps couldn't reach. Inside, they found maps, codes, and enemy positions. Surreal stared at the main terminal. "Velcor has built a secret weapon." "What kind?" Jace asked. "Purifier cannon. Not energy-based, it uses gravity. It can crush ships and continents," Kyla cursed. "That explains why the peace engine didn't stop it. It's not powered by energy, it's powered by physics. We have to destroy it," Jace said. Surreal nodded. "And we have to do it before sunrise. After that, it'll have full range on the Queen's homeworld." They split into two teams. Jace and Kayla would infiltrate the cannon chamber, deep inside Velcor's mountain fortress. Sorel and her protector unit, led by a giant alien named Thrak, would activate a diversion near the outer perimeter, drawing out the guards. The Queen's fleet stayed in orbit, powered down, peaceful, watching. They wouldn't strike unless attacked. This was a mission of silence. But Velcor was already waiting. As Jace and Kayla crept through the tunnels, they saw the horrors of the warlord's rule. Prisoners chained to machines, children trained to fight with knives, old scientists turned into tools. "This place is a nightmare," Jace whispered. "And it won't end unless we stop it here," Kayla replied. They reached the lower reactor chamber, massive gears turning without light. "No, electronics. Only weight, steel, and gravity." The purifier cannon sat at the core, glowing red with heat. "We plant the charges and run," Kayla said, handing Jace a bag of explosives. "No hero moves." "Understood," Jace replied, but deep down he knew better. If something went wrong, he'd have to stay behind. Outside, Surreal stood on a cliff, raising her hands. Her voice echoed into the sky, a message carried by sound and soul. Enough. The air trembled. Birds scattered. Warriors paused. "This war is over. You don't need to die for shadows." Some soldiers fell to their knees. Others dropped their weapons. But then the ground shook. Velcor appeared, taller than any being Surreal had seen. His arms were covered in spikes. His mask glowed with burning orange eyes. "You are a child playing with fire," he growled. "I am the flame." He struck the ground. An energy wave knocked everyone back. Surreal stood up slowly, bleeding from her forehead. "I'm not playing," she said. "I'm ending this." Inside the fortress, Jace and Kayla planted the final charges, but the timer wouldn't start. "Manual lock," Kayla said, panicked. "Someone has to activate it from the core panel, inside the gravity well." "I'll do it," Jace said. "No. Kayla, I'm already marked. I've been running since the day I met her. It's time to stop running." Kayla looked into his eyes. She didn't argue. She just nodded and ran for the exit. Jace walked into the heart of the cannon chamber. The pressure bent his armor. The gravity pulled on his bones. He reached the panel, entered the codes, slammed the lever. Outside, alarms screamed. The cannon began to collapse. Velcor raised his blade to strike Surreal. But something stopped him. A voice. Jace's voice. On every channel. "This is Jace. Human, guardian, friend." His voice shook as the gravity field ripped at his lungs. "If you're hearing this, it means the cannon is gone. I'm not making it out. And that's okay." Sorel's eyes filled with tears. Jace's voice continued. "Peace isn't weakness. It's the hardest thing, and you, Surreal, you made me believe it was possible. Never stop." Then the cannon exploded. A wave of light swept across Astraxis. Velcor's blade dropped. He fell to his knees, defeated by something stronger than power. By sacrifice. Hours later, the skies of Astraxis cleared for the first time in decades. Ships landed peacefully. Surreal walked through the ashes of the fortress and stood at the edge of the crater. She placed a single stone where Jace had stood. "Guardian of the stars," she whispered. Behind her, the queen placed a hand on her shoulder. "He changed everything," Surreal nodded. "And now it's our turn," the queen's shocking offer. The stars above Astraxis were no longer red. For the first time in generations, the skies were clear, peaceful. But peace came with a cost. They had won the battle, destroyed Velkor's doomsday cannon, and ended the final threat to the galaxy's peace. But Jace was gone, or so everyone believed. On the new capital world of Elisar Prime, a great ceremony was being prepared, not one of war, but of remembrance and rebirth. Alien banners waved beside human flags. Giant star beasts sang from the cliffs. 100 worlds had sent leaders to attend the event that would officially end the Empire and birth the Galactic Unity Council. At the center of it all stood Queen Aelari, tall, calm, powerful, and beside her, her daughter Surreal, now a symbol of peace to the galaxy. But Surreal's eyes were not filled with joy. They were filled with something deeper. Grief. In a silent garden overlooking the floating rivers of Elisar, Surreal sat alone with the last recording Jace had left her. She listened. "Again and again, you made me believe it was possible. Never stop." His voice echoed through her. Suddenly, footsteps crunched the crystal path behind her. It was Kayla. "They're asking for you," Kayla said gently. "The ceremony is about to begin." Surreal turned, her eyes still wet. "He should have been here." Kayla nodded. "I know. Do you ever wonder if there was a way he could have survived?" Kala hesitated. "Yes, but that chamber, it collapsed entirely. No one could have lived through that." Surreal stood up slowly. "Still, I feel something. Like his story isn't over." As the ceremony began, millions across the galaxy tuned, and giant screens floated above every major city. Beings of every kind, from slug-like deep crawlers to shining winged aviars, watched as the queen approached the crystal stage. She lifted her hand, and the crowd fell silent. "My people," she began, "we were broken, scattered, divided. For centuries we fought for power and forgot what it meant to live." She paused, her voice growing stronger. "But a human, a scavenger, a soldier, a guardian, showed us the truth. He gave his life to save a galaxy not even his own," the crowd whispered. Many had never seen a human before Jace. Now his name was spoken in every tongue. "Today," the queen said, "we choose to honor his vision." She reached into her robe and pulled out a glowing orb. "This is the core's heart, now reprogrammed not to control, but to guide. It will respond only to a united voice." The orb hovered in the air. Surreal stepped forward and placed her hand on it. The moment her fingers touched the surface, the orb lit up with dozens of colors, signals of agreement from across the galaxy. They were ready. Just then, a soft alarm beeped behind the stage. Kayla checked her tablet, her eyes widened. "Your Majesty, something's happening on Astraxis." The queen turned sharply. "What is it?" "A life signal," Kayla whispered. "Faint, human, deep beneath the old fortress." Sorel gasped. "It's him." Within hours, a stealth ship was launched. Kayla, Surreal, and a medical team flew at top speed toward the ruins of Velkor's fortress. No celebration, no delay. The place looked like a dead planet, still burning in parts. The crater from the explosion stretched miles wide. Drones scanned deep underground, and then, there it was, buried beneath collapsed chambers, under rock and melted steel, a single heartbeat. When they reached him, Jace was unconscious. His armor shattered, his body bruised, burned, and nearly broken, but he was alive. How? Surreal held his hand in the medical bay as he slept. The queen stood beside her, speaking softly. "The core protected him," she said. "He activated it with selflessness, not power. and the core returned the gift. Like it brought him back, Sorel whispered. No, the Queen said. It simply refused to let him go. 3 days later, Jace opened his eyes. Blinding light, beeping monitors, a cool breeze from an open window. He turned and saw Sorel asleep beside him. Her head on his arm, he whispered. You're still here? Her eyes opened instantly. When she saw him awake, she threw her arms around him, crying and laughing at once. You stubborn human, she said. I missed you too, he murmured. The Queen entered, smiling. Welcome back, Guardian, she said. Jace tried to sit up. What happened? Surreal explained everything. The ceremony, the alliance, the change. We did it, Jace whispered. We really did it. Because of you, the Queen said. Then she looked at him with an expression Jace had never seen before, both royal and deeply personal. Which brings me to something important. 2 days later, Jace was standing in front of the entire galaxy again, but this time alive. People gasped, some cried. Others cheered so loud it shook the sky. Surreal stood beside him proudly. The Queen stepped forward. This man gave his life, for all of us, she said. But the galaxy returned him to us. Now we must decide what to give in return. She turned to Jace. I offer you something no human has ever been given. A place beside me, not just as an ally, but as a ruler. Jace froze. The crowd fell completely silent. You mean? The Queen nodded. Marry me. Rule with me. Bring humanity into this new era not as outsiders, but as equals. Sorel looked up at him with wide, hopeful eyes. Jace looked out at the crowd, millions waiting for his answer, and then he smiled. Only if I get to keep my old jacket. The Queen laughed. The crowd exploded in joy. Banners waved. Fireworks lit the skies of 10,000 planets. 5 years later, a girl with silver hair and a curious smile raced through the halls of the Unity Palace. Behind her walked a man in a faded jacket and royal sash, half diplomat, half legend. His name was Jace of Earth, once a scavenger. Now the first human king of the galaxy. Beside him walked Queen Aelari, her eyes soft, her heart at peace. And in the sky above, the stars burned brighter than ever.